Hi, my name is Decca Knight and this is Star City Family. I am a parent of one and I'm here with my friend Ryan.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Bell, parent of 4.
So we are starting this series of videos because we really want to talk to parents about what is appropriate developmentally at different ages.
Yeah, and also offer them the opportunity to understand that they don't have to put so much undue pressure on themselves throughout this journey.
So we're talking about how to have conversations with your kid and understanding what you need to do as far as disciplining them. But I have this other thing that I'm going to kind of keep till the end. It's kind of like a super top secret tip that I give parents that I work with when we're in session. So I can't wait, Ryan, to tell other people.
I can't wait either.
So Ryan, as a counselor, I see all the time when I'm working with parents and with kids that parents have unrealistic expectations of what their children should be doing at different ages. So for instance, if a 3-year-old is really upset about something and trying to assert their independence, a parent will say like, oh my goodness, it's the terrible 3s or the terrible 2s. Right. And what I'm usually thinking is like, hey, they're supposed to be exerting their independence. Right. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And that doesn't mean you have to let them get away with everything. You still have to set expectations and limits, but with a general understanding of where they are developmentally, it can help us as parents understand what's okay.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the key, right? Myself being an educator for many years and the work that I was doing with parents, that's really what I tried to drive home to them, right? Is that there's certain behaviors that are gonna be exhibited that are okay. This is where your child is, this is where they're supposed to be, and that's fine. And really understanding that each child is going to be different. They're gonna be different levels, stages to the development, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is, it's okay. So when considering child development, it is important to look at what they are capable of doing at different stages. One way we can begin to understand this is Piaget's stages of cognitive development. Cognitive is defined as an individual's development in the areas of learning, reasoning, and remembering. Piaget was a psychologist who developed his child development stages in the early to mid 1900s. He divided up child development into 4 stages. The first was sensory motor. This was from birth to 2 years of age. The word sensory motor refers to senses and movement, which define this stage. During this stage, the infant learns about their world through their movements and sensations and through actions such as sucking, grasping, looking, and listening. They eventually begin to learn that things continue to exist even though they cannot be seen. Remember when your infant didn't understand that and you as a parent would leave the room and reappear and it was like the first time they saw you? Infants also begin to learn that they are separate from their family and are independent, hence the term terrible 2s. But we need to think of this time really differently. Toddlers aren't terrible. They are terrific beings who are coming into their own. They are realizing that their actions can affect the world around them. Ages 2 to 7 are the pre-operational stage. During this time, kids begin to think symbolically and learn to use words and pictures to represent objects. I always loved to watch my son draw pictures at this age. Though I often couldn't tell what they were, he loved describing them to me in great detail. I also love the words that he came up with that were unique to him. For instance, he used to say the word berserk to describe dessert. Maybe all the sugar made him feel berserk. Children at this stage also become more egocentric. This means that they naturally focus on their own feelings and point of view. They may struggle to put themselves in someone else's shoes. It is normal for them not to understand someone else's point of view, but quite often at this stage, we punish children for not understanding someone else's perspective. This is unfortunate because at this stage, they will struggle to do so. During this stage, they are also getting better with language and thinking, but tend to think of things in concrete terms, meaning that they do not understand figures of speech such as time flies when you're having fun, or if you want, I can give you a hand. I imagine a 3-year-old saying, how will you give me your hand? It's attached to your body. The next stage is concrete operational. This is from ages 7 to 11 years old. During this stage, children begin to think logically about concrete events. They begin to understand the concept of conservation. For example, that the amount of liquid in a short, wide cup is equal to that in a tall, skinny glass. Their thinking becomes more logical and organized, but still very concrete. For example, at this stage, I remember my son starting to organize his toys, books, and belongings on his own. Children also begin to reason using inductive logic. For example, kids may realize that in the summer, butterflies are around. They may therefore figure out that in the summer, there are butterflies coming to flowering plants. The last stage is known as formal operational. This is from 12 years of age and up. At this stage, the adolescent or young adult begins to think abstractly. For example, a concrete thought, the opposite of abstract, would be thinking about your own cat. An abstract thought would be thinking about house cats in general, their relationship with your other pets, and with you, and how your cat is like and unlike other animals in the world. They may also begin to think more about moral, philosophical, ethical, social, and political issues. For instance, they may begin considering how they are part of the problem and may take on worldly issues. It's also important to understand that the thinking part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, doesn't fully develop until we are 25 years of age. This means that our executive functioning skills such as focused attention, rational thought, cause and effect thinking, long-term planning, time management, and much more are not fully formed until our mid-20s. For perspective, think about how many choices you made as a young adult that you would look back on now with regret or confusion. I know that I had some. It's important to understand all of this information so that we can understand where our child is. As we stated previously, we often expect kids to do and say things that they may not be capable of developmentally. When we understand this, we can give our kids grace and can teach them new skills instead of punishing them. So we just got done talking about Piaget's different stages of development. And remember, the reason we're talking about this kind of stuff is so that we understand what is realistic for our kids at different stages. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, and I thought it was fascinating. It really gives parents the opportunity to have the freedom to understand that you can set realistic expectations for your children and their behavior.
Yeah, 100%. So this is a really great time, y'all, to stop the video or pause the video and really reflect on the different stages that your kids have been through and how you reacted at different stages, and would you have done things differently if you knew this information.
So another important area of focus along this journey is social and emotional health. Deck, I want to get your thoughts on something really quickly. So the areas of focus in social and emotional health that I think are very key are this idea of self-awareness, right? Really understanding as parents where we are in our own particular journey, and then self-management. How do we now manage once we have understood where we are at social and emotionally? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it's so important as a counselor to be really, really self-aware of that, mainly because you're modeling, for your kiddos what you do to manage your own emotions.
Right.
And if you're getting upset with them or you're getting upset with a significant other or another family member, that's what your kids are going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads into the other points around social awareness. In those moments, right, how are we socially responsible with our behavior as we're modeling for our children, and our relationship skills, right? Are we able in those moments when we're aware and managing our emotions to have the proper relationship skills in those moments as well, right? And then for me, the biggie is decision making.
Yeah.
What does your decision making look like along that journey?
Yeah, and how do you take like a pause?
Right.
To make sure before you say something that you're making the best decision as a parent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are 5 key strategies to social and emotional health. The first being prioritize your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. For us as parents, to strengthen the social and emotional health of our children, we must prioritize our own well-being. Our children are extremely aware of the stress we experience as parents and caretakers. The goal, while easier said than done, is to remain in a peaceful and natural state. Our children notice our emotions whether we are happy and joyful or worried and anxious, and this directly influences the emotional health of our children. For this reason, we must be intentional, even if only 10 minutes a day, about taking care of ourselves. You can work out, meditate, and put your thoughts on paper. The airplane analogy works best here. They always instruct you to put on your oxygen mask before helping others. Point 2. Create routines and intentionality. Routines are the foundation of our sense of stability. This is increasingly true for our children, especially those who might have experienced some form of trauma in their lives. Develop a daily routine for both you and your children. Within this routine, dedicate time for social and emotional learning to take place. In the best of circumstances, this would be between 5 to 10 minutes a day. Point 3. Presence is not the same as being present. We as parents have done a great job in being physically present with our children. However, I would like to push us a little further to ensure that we are not simply physically present, but that we are emotionally and mentally supportive of our children's development as well. Life will place many demands on us, and we have to remain committed to being as mentally and emotionally available to our children to the level that we can sustain. This responsibility can be accomplished by carving out time for connection. We do not have the luxury to assume that it will happen on its own, just because we are physically present. Set aside time to read, tell stories, and play games with your children. Point 4, commit acts of service or kindness for others. I have found that performing acts of service for others is a vital aspect of establishing and appreciation for my own situation. It actively plays a role in improving my mental, physical, and emotional health. Remember, do not make this overwhelming. Write a letter to someone who lives alone, visit an elderly neighbor, or take a kid on a walk to the park. The act of practicing kindness will build a more meaningful connection. And last but certainly not least, engage in creativity together. Showing our creative sides is often a difficult thing to do because it forces us to be vulnerable. However, it is extremely vital to the process of building stronger social and emotional health. Being creative allows us the opportunity to discover new and exciting things about ourselves and those around us. Tangible examples of this could include playing and solving puzzles, cooking together, and artistic forms of expression, even writing poetry together. So we just had a discussion on social and emotional health. Decca, what did you think about it?
I am so thankful that we've had this discussion, Ryan, because I think our kids get a lot of stuff from the media and from the world around them that we want to counterbalance as parents.
Absolutely.
Right? And helping them learn how to have healthy relationships with not only us, but other people.
Yeah. Well, this is your opportunity now to pause the video and take a moment to have a conversation about how you implement these practices at home. Well, we've covered a lot today. The one thing that I hope you guys take away from this video is that you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself as parents to get it right.
Or on your kids, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Right? They are people too, and they're gonna make mistakes also.
Now, you promised us a top secret tip. What is that?
Yeah, so as a counselor, this is something that I always tell parents, that if you want your child to kind of regulate their emotions and calm down, you gotta get low. And what I mean by that is you got to get at eye level or lower when you're talking to them. We know that actually calms down the brain, it actually calms down the nervous system, and it makes it easier to talk to your kid.
Absolutely.
So join us again
on Star City Family.